Welcome to the PinLeader Podcast, where strategic leaders get straight to the topics, strengthening our awareness and sharpening our minds. The PinLeader Podcast is produced by Roar, a production division of Mays & Associates Ltd. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Now here is your award-winning host, Dr. Shanda Gore.
Hello and welcome to the PinLeader Podcast. Today's show is Lead, Follow, and Improvise, and I am so glad to have with me Mr. Peter Kharchenko, who is a recording artist and a multi-instrumentalist and museologist who plays guitar, bass, the lute, and the oud. He is in consistent demand in the Northwest Ohio area and Southeast Michigan music circles and performs a wide variety of rock, pop, jazz, country, classical, and world music. He accompanies many artists in diverse musical styles and has been featured with the Toledo Masterworks Choral, Toledo Jazz Orchestra, and taught guitar lessons and classes at BGSU and the Toledo Music Circles of Schools. He is an adjunct professor at Tiffin University since 2022. And if you didn't know, he's also the one who's composed and performed the music for the intro for the PinLeader Podcast and my own audiobook, The PinLeader Path. So without further ado, welcome Peter Kharchenko. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Dr. Gore. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yes. So as a musician, improvisation is really a critical part of your performance, and you do it in real time. Can you talk a little bit about what that means, especially with the way leaders need to do it to adapt, and especially when circumstances change unexpectedly?
Well, sure. Yeah, and there's a lot to unpack in there, obviously. So, yeah, as a musician, you get into music because you're excited about it at some point, and then you learn the instrument, you learn the art and craft of music, and you can have this wide gamut from, on one hand, learning everything note for note and being as precise and clear about what it is that you're going to perform, and on the other hand, there's room to be creative, to be spontaneous, to, even if you're playing the same piece of music that you have played before, you can always infuse it with something new and something exciting and something you haven't done before. And I think that's what keeps a lot of musicians excited and interested to keep going, as opposed to falling into that same cookie cutter routine. So, and that applies to real life, because every single day we have conversations, we do problem solving, we figure out what we're gonna wear, what we're gonna eat, who we're gonna speak with. So you can't script everything. So you should be, always ready and happy about making some spontaneous decisions and enjoying that.
So I do think that when leaders are looking at the challenges they have within, it could be from a circumstance in workforce, or maybe it's an external situation that's happening. They also are faced with having to improvise. And I know I was going to ask you to do a little demonstration on what improvisation means, because of the fact that you have a plan, you have a strategic plan, and you're moving forward, and then something happens, and then you have to pivot, which I talk about in my book. Can you show and demonstrate a little bit about like how you're playing right by the book, and then what that improvisation means?
Absolutely.
If you change it.
Absolutely. So, one good example might be if we take a familiar melody or familiar tune, for instance, Amazing Grace. It's fairly well known and recognizable, and it's, depending on who you speak to, what kind of a musician you have, I don't think anybody plays it or sings it exactly the same way, yet it's still recognizable. And then in whichever way we choose to present the music. In this case, it'll be just instrumental guitar. It's possible to do it pretty straight and clear, or it's possible to sort of stretch on it a little bit. And let's see what happens.
Okay.
So. we'll go around again. So, you know,
Excellent.
a lot of this was not written out note for note, right? It's almost like, but there's a structure, there's a safety net, you know, so we know this is our tonality, this sound, this is our home. And in our home live that part, and then this is a place to go to, and we come back home. And then we stay at home. And this is the place of tension. This is where there's some suspense, some excitement. And when you're there, you want to go home. And there's that tension again. Always take us home, you know. It's the journey that's interesting. You know, you start at a safe place, then you explore, and you come back.
So that makes me think about plans, that you have a home, that you have your goals of where you want to start, but then it rises to this point where there's some tension that happens, you know, the circumstance that kind of makes you pivot in the middle of the song, but your goal is always to come back home. Where's your why? And your goal and the action items that went with it, and what are you trying to get to? So, and that's you do it so well in resolution in the song.
You're absolutely right. So yes, so tension and resolution. So and our resolution will always be a place of calm, place of, you know, stability, you know, and then if everything you're doing is stable and just safe, you know, then the music might not have much spice or much, you know, excitement. But if you go, you know, we got some tension here, then we resolve that. How about another place, you know, there's drama happening, and then back, you know, so.
It's excellent. Excellent. No, so the song changes depending on what's going on with whatever improvisation you do with it. There's also times when you're not leading, but you're actually taking a back seat in whatever that circumstance is. Because as a leader, we have a tendency, we're driving the bus, as they say. You know, we're trying to make sure the organization's moving forward. We're moving in the direction we're hoping everybody's moving with us. But there's also times when you have individuals that are part of your team, allowing them to have their talents to come through. And I think of you as an artist, as a now multi-recording artist, there's times when you have others leading.
Absolutely, absolutely. In my earlier demonstration, I played the melody and the chords at the same time. There was no singing. So the music was presented in, I guess, what we would call the instrumental fashion. However, in a lot of performances, you might have a singer, and you might have more than one person playing the accompaniment role. You know, it's common for bands to have the bass, the drums, the piano, sometimes even two guitars, you know, and plenty of other auxiliary instruments, you know. And if, for instance, other people are playing and they need their space to play, then let's say the guitarist wouldn't play as much. You know, perhaps just some accompaniment, you know. Let's say if you're singing and if you're going, you know, these would be just the chords. As you hear, there you did not have the melody because we're leaving the room for the singer or maybe, I don't know, maybe a violinist or maybe a horn player to play the melody there. So then that sound, that's just the sound of the accompaniment. When you're working with a group of musicians or a team of professionals, everybody's got their voice. And if somebody's playing way too much, well, then there's no room for anybody else. So it's important to know how to improvise, but also stay in your lane and only say what you really mean. Just make sure that what you're saying musically or in professional life, just only say what really counts and what is direct to the point of what it is that you're trying to do.
You bring up a great point and something I've talked to leaders about. It's okay to have silence and it's okay to sit back and let somebody else talk. But when people feel the need to always fill the silence, that they add all this extra in there, and it dilutes what the point is. And I think in music, that's really telling your point that you just made on how you have to be able to allow others to come through on that team.
Yes.
I do say this too. I think you're leaving money on the table for any leader out there that has a team. You hire these individuals for their talent, allow them to be talented in what they are. You don't need to be the jack of all trades. So yeah, that's excellent. That's an excellent. What advisement would you tell anyone who's really in a situation where they're having to improvise and lead and they didn't expect it?
Like if they have to lead kind of
I know that's
by
happened
default,
to you.
right?
Yes, I know that's happened to you.
Sure. Well, as far as playing or performing, well, it has to have a point and a purpose, right? We always have an idea of that we're trying to get across.
Yes.
In performances, the one thing you want to know is what are your goals and objectives. Kind of like knowing your crowd, right? If it's a performance where you want people to feel good and happy, then you probably want to pick music that is fitting. That's a good fit, representative of that. If it's a situation where the audience has to listen and maybe be moved by it and have a profound experience, there's music for that, and as a performer, which by default it makes you a leader of that situation, you want to find the right material and the right approach, the right sound, and then you want to play it with the right touch, Again, with this instrument in my hands, we have a big difference whether it's that's something that makes you listen, or just, obviously that makes you want to dance and move. So, again, we're working with the same material, but different ways of presenting it.
Again, another important point of just understanding your audience and what the goal of the evening is. Because you've played for recording artists, but you've also played for weddings and for moments when life is in celebration, or maybe there's some soulful part that needs to come out. So I do think knowing your audience is so critically important. And when you're not paying attention to the audience, your customers out there, it can make a difference.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. In the professional world, it's not uncommon to see music as having a purpose and knowing kind of where it fits in and how it fits in, and it's up to the artist, to the musician to kind of make those decisions and make the right ones, as we all strive to do.
Excellent. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and spending the time to demonstrate what improvisation means and how that leadership component really plays a part in life as well. So I so appreciate you and all the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on the show.
And thank you to our listeners and watchers. We really appreciate you. Remember, if you have any feedback, you can provide it at info@mazeassociatesltd.com. We appreciate your feedback. But We'd also like to thank our sponsors, Mavolino Custom Home Builders, where they build custom homes with superior quality, value, and integrity. And we also like to thank today's sponsor, the Maine Intelligence Network. Come be a part of a focused network of entrepreneurs, leaders, executives, and authors committed to sharpening leadership and strategy while scaling ventures with intention. This is a place where practical thinking meets high caliber connection. Check out the Maine at www.maesassociatesltd.com and select Maine on the homepage. And of course, until next time.
The PinLeader Podcast is hosted by Dr. Shanda Gore and brought to you by Mace & Associates Ltd., creating customized solutions for growth in the areas of leadership development, strategic planning, and culture building. Find out more at www.maesassociatesltd.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the PinLeader Podcast and share with others.